one of the only remaining competitive RTS on the market. But if I want to get more regarding, I don't know, campaign, single player content, the commanders, which are co-op based, if I understood correctly, or some additional cosmetics through the voucher system that you have on the roadmap, then I will pay something with like one-time purchases, and that's it if I get that right. That's the play?
Yeah, pretty much every mode of the game has an opportunity for players to experience that mode without paying anything. And so
This is a no bullshit gaming show where we talk about games and their revenue in great detail, powered by our ad monetization, game design, and user acquisition triple threat expertise. Welcome to the 2.5 Gamers, the unfiltered truth served with a side of giggles. Let's not forget this is a 4 a.m. conference discussion vibe, so let's not take it too seriously. Tune in now and stay 2.5 steps ahead of the gaming industry.
You can even start with it, Jakub.
No worries.
Okay.
Let's go.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for coming again. This is 2.5 Gamers. My name is Matej Lancaric.
I'm Felix Braberg.
And I'm Jakub Remia.
We are your hosts, and we have very special guests because we have a very special episode. Please, all guys, all the audience, please welcome Team Morten from Frost Giant Studios. Welcome, team. Please. Thanks for coming. Can you? I mean, you're the legend in the industry already. So, but for the audience that doesn't know you, can you give us a little bit of introduction about you and the company you founded?
Oh, good. And hardly a legend. Just another person trying to make a good game out here. But I am currently helping to lead a new company called Frost Giant Studios that is building a new PC real-time strategy game called Stormgate. I've been in the industry about 30 years, gotten to work at places like Activision and Sony and Electronic Arts, but most recently at Blizzard, where I was working on StarCraft 2.
Legend, 30 years in the industry, 10, Jakub 9-ish, Felix 9-ish as well, so
8.
Yeah,
so
combined
together we are a little
yeah,
less.
together we are close.
All that means is that I'm old. That's
I mean, yeah, we kind of grew up on StarCraft 2 and like all of the fun around. So this is like very big pleasure to have you on the podcast. And so, dear listeners, we will have a few questions, and we agreed on actually playing with him together. So, if we go sideways, like Felix is gonna keep us on track and kind of ask questions while we play, or we'll see what happens. But you know how it is. So we were discussing, Jakub. You tried to already kind of jump straight in before we start recording. So what's up? Where should we start with the game and everything? Or maybe Tim, can you walk us through a little bit
the timeline, let's say.
Yeah, the timeline.
Let's start with the timeline. What's currently being cooked up, how Storm Game's doing, was the early access, and what's the release date? Let's go numbers, I guess.
Sure. I guess a lot to unpack there. So Frost Giant started in 2020. The founding group came out of Blizzard. Most of us had worked together on StarCraft. The game director, Tim Campbell, had worked on Warcraft 3. And the goal was to build a new RTS as an independent studio and to try to carry forward that heritage of gameplay that is specific to Blizzard RTS. So it's resource collection, it's base building, it's creating an army, and then it's fielding that army through campaign missions, through cooperative missions, and through competitive. And there's some things that are sort of unique to Blizzard RTS, like right click and just various mechanics that we're trying to carry forward in this new independent RTS. We spent the first year building out technology, though we are on the Unreal Engine. Unreal isn't necessarily designed with real-time strategy in mind. It's a great engine when it comes to pipelines for graphics, for example, but for us, we have very high unit counts, and those units all need to be network synced. They need to have collision and pathfinding and game logic. And so, we spent about a year building out a platform that we call Snowplay. Snowplay works with Unreal, but really it's an independent piece of technology that uses Unreal to take input and to do rendering and audio and all of the basic kind of engine functionality that Unreal brings. But Snowplay handles all of the networking, all of the gameplay, and all of the tooling around that gameplay. So we had to build our own editor as a part.
Do I get it right that it's some kind of like custom add-on to Unreal, something like, let's say, MiHoYo uses for Genshin Impact, where they have like custom version of Unity and stuff like that?
We'll be releasing, our editor independently in the months ahead, really, because it's tied to our Perforce database, and it's got lots of sort of ugly developer user interface right now. We're going to do a polish pass before it does get released. But yeah, real-time strategy has such a lineage of great editors from even Warcraft 2, Warcraft 3, and StarCraft 2. The mod scene, the map scene for those games was so robust, and of course spawned the MOBA genre, countless tower defense and auto battler games. So yeah, we're really excited to the future point where we get to release our editor for players to take advantage of themselves. Yeah, to go to where we are today. So we spent that first year building tech. We spent the following years then building out the game modes. And we started with the simplest, which is 1 versus 1, because that doesn't require any AI or scripting. You can do it with just a single race. So we built that mode first. Then we built cooperative mode, which is what we're going to play together today. That mode is kind of one step harder in that there is a little bit of logic scripting on the maps, and there are some AIs that we will battle against in the mission. And then campaign is what we implemented most recently before early access launch. And that, of course, is kind of the pinnacle of complexity, because the type of involved scripting that requires lots of triggers and
custom functionality.
Yeah, it's just a tremendous amount of work. So that's the order we built the game in. We did a closed alpha and some closed betas to get feedback along the way, and we're continuing in that spirit of doing releases that are intended to get feedback with our early access release. That went out just last week to players who had either supported us through Kickstarter or pre-purchased the game on Steam. And next week, on August 13th, the game will be available for anyone to try. So effectively free to play, with some purchases, obviously, to help support our continued development.
So let's pause there. Like, what's the difference between the early access version and the free to play version, which is coming out next week?
The version that people are playing right now is just a purchase only access to the build, but really, because those two builds are just 2 weeks apart, they're basically the same build. We'll do some balance tweaks, we'll do some bug fixes from what we learned, but fundamentally, the first couple of weeks were just meant to be a preview of the full access.
Yeah. And regarding the content, what's the difference like afterwards, after the August 13, with the early access people and like completely free to play people that just download the game, don't pay anything?
Sorry, what's the difference in the content you're asking?
Yeah.
No, it's so paid players just got a preview of what the early access players are going to play, but it's the same game.
So no difference in content. Okay.
Yeah, we'll make some balance fixes will make some.
We are just earlier than everybody else,
Exactly.
basically.
Hence the preview.
Okay. Do we want to stay here a little bit regarding the business model of free-to-play? If we're releasing free-to-play next week, we can talk about that. Yeah, so I guess this comes a little bit more unorthodox for the PC community, because I wouldn't really say that as I looked into the game and as I read some of your roadmap, that this is the typical free-to-play model as we know from like mobile game industry, or the games that are like cross-platform with like the big mobile games that go PC, mobile, even console, and so on and so forth, where you would have some like power progressions or even like League of Legends progressions where it's like pure cosmetic economy or stuff like that. So you have, I would say, a little bit of a hybrid model that's mainly, if I understood, taking pointers from StarCraft 2 business model.
Yeah, many of the members of this team were involved in the 2017 release of StarCraft 2 free-to-play. That was well received by the community. Really, the goal was to take the content as it existed and make it available a la carte to new players who are coming in. So we really wanted to avoid putting any kind of gotcha mechanics, any kind of grind mechanics.
Gotcha clap. I brought the t-shirt that exactly.
And we really wanted to avoid anything that was pay to win. I think the PC audience is very sensitive, understandably, to all of those things. And so part of the motivation in going free to play really was to increase player counts. It's not like we were trying to fundamentally change the way that the game monetizes. It's selling the same stuff that it always sold, missions and heroes and war chests. But instead of having to pay a full retail price to get in, players are able to give the game a try and decide what type of content they want to attach to. So really, it was conceived to try to be as consumer friendly as possible.
It's kind of a funnel play. Widen the funnel at the beginning.
Yeah. Okay. But the thing is, if I understood correctly, so if I'm a, let's say, competitive player and I download Stormgate free to play next week, I can pretty much get all the features that are, let's say, covering the competitiveness of the game, and then just jump into the ladder ranking and pretty much get my usual kind of dose of one of the only remaining competitive RTS on the market. But if I want to get more regarding, I don't know, campaign, single player content, the commanders, which are co-op based, if I understood correctly, or some additional cosmetics through the war chest system that you have on the roadmap, then I will pay something with like one-time purchases, and that's it if I get that right. That's the play?
Yeah, pretty much every mode of the game has an opportunity for players to experience that mode without paying anything. And so for campaign, the first 3 missions are free. For co-op, all of the commanders can be played up to level 5 for free. And there's one commander that's fully unlocked that even free players can fully level. And then, as you pointed out, for competitive 1 versus 1, players can just jump in and play. And there's an opportunity for players who enjoy campaign to buy more campaigns, for players who enjoy cooperative to buy more heroes, and for players who enjoy competitive to purchase cosmetics. Those are sort of the 3 pillars of how Stormgate plans to make money, and those are the same 3 pillars that StarCraft 2 had as well.
Yeah, like for like. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's not really that much big difference between StarCraft, like free-to-play model that they switched 2017, and basically what you said.
Yep, you got it. And I think we're adding some new types of cosmetics, and obviously our game modes are a bit different in that campaign will eventually support playing with friends with up to 3 players in campaign maps. Cooperative also supports 3 players, and even competitive. Eventually, we plan to release a 3 versus 3 competitive mode, and that mode will also support heroes. So those heroes that are currently only relatively useful for the cooperative mode will be relevant to the competitive modes when 3v.
It's very interesting because mostly when I look around regarding PC free-to-play games, if we have like, let's say, if you exclude out of the equation stuff like, I don't know, Fortnite or League of Legends, which is like giant cosmetic economies on giant DAUs, which is, I guess this won't be the case because it's just kind of very hardcore community that really plays RTS games these days. But yeah, there are still niche games that like monetizing very well. So if you, for instance, take like Warframe or Path of Exile, which are again very successful free-to-play PC games, but they have their own kind of a way. For instance, I always call Path of Exile to be like pay for comfort, because you literally pay for bigger inventories there or some kind of a quality of life features, which doesn't give you any power advantage. But again, they are kind of very good in a way to have them. Have you ever thought about something in this manner, or just like, as you said, pretty much what StarCraft did because you know that the model worked before and like this is it?
Yeah, I think the thing that we like about the StarCraft model is that it really tries to avoid introducing frustration that you then ask players to pay to get rid of. Like our hope is more to show players stuff that they like and then give them an opportunity to buy more of it. We felt like that feels better, or just sort of philosophically that was our goal.
No, like that's like that's completely okay in my book. I'm just kind of a little bit maybe worried if it will be enough, or like if it isn't kind of too friendly, because that would be immediately like one of my other questions. If
it's always a question. I think it did work for StarCraft, but obviously StarCraft had the benefit of being a Blizzard product with a built-in
Blizzard brand basically,
and a sequel on top of that. The other thing about StarCraft was that by 2017, the game had been out for 7 years, so it had the benefit of growing that audience base. So, yeah, it's definitely an experiment for Stormgate, and it's one that we're hopeful for. I think building games in a way that takes away upfront price as a barrier to entry feels like it has the potential to expand audience. I think with StarCraft, one of the reasons we even went free to play was that we discovered, even though StarCraft had some free trial capabilities built in, that most people perceived it to be a full retail price game and didn't even realize that there was a way to go try it for free. So by being free to play, I think people understand that they have that ability. Yeah, we'll see. August 13th is we get to test our hypothesis.
Sure. Like one of my other big questions, because like I literally spent like a lot of my childhood on the European Battle.net of Warcraft.
Yes.
There were all these modes, and to be honest, like none of us here are like very good like competitive RTS players with like, I don't know, 160 APS, which I never hit in my life. But the modes there were amazing, as you said. Like they were pretty much like the breeding ground for all the big genres that come out of it. And I remember fondly playing all like even like these niche games like Who's the Killer, Fight of Characters, whatever this, whatever that. Like every week it was some kind of other mode.
All the tower defense modes. Like
all the tower defenses.
You were talking about the tower defense, and I just got goosebumps immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
We
played all of these things. So is this kind of like, if I understand correctly, this will be then like the part of completely free experience, that if like editor releases later down in your own map and people start making these games, and then pretty much it will be the same as me not joining like a competitive game but joining a custom map on the server shard of the game, and then basically it is that.
Yeah, you got it. So our goal with the editor is to be every bit as powerful as Warcraft 3 and StarCraft 2, and to provide much more content creator friendly terms than I think some of the big companies have provided, like philosophically.
As like if I understood correctly, currently where Warcraft Reforged was launched, the editor is now pretty much done in a way that everything that's created in it is pretty much owned by Blizzard. So no more Dota sprouting out of it and Blizzard not getting any money out.
All right.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well. And we want to be a lot more friendly than that. I think for us, the editor is a way to build community. And even with Warcraft 3, like so many of those maps that did become successful went off and got rebuilt as their own games anyway. Like that's going to happen if somebody makes a good game, and it should. Like it's their idea, they built it, they should be able to do that. So philosophically, we really, we're game creators ourselves. Many of us also came from the modding community, like Ryan Shooter and Austin Huddleston. Like there are team members who work in games today because of editors that shipped with games. So we really want to continue to support that in a very authentic way.
Because like for me, I don't know what's, you know probably better the percentages or how it was back then, but my guess is that if we take, let's say, hypothetically this, I don't know, year forward, and we have this functionality already running up with like the servers of the games sprawling with like all these tower defenses and other custom modes, my guess is that the competitive community wouldn't be bigger than this kind of community. Or like for me, it was always like just much more people playing these games than just like raw competitive ladder. In my view, I don't know. I just got this feeling.
Yeah, it varies by era, I guess. If you look back at the Warcraft 3 days, as Dota started to take off, Dota, even just the Dota mods in places like China, really spread like wildfire. And so, still today, there is a huge population playing original Dota.
The original one from Warcraft Battle.net, Warcraft 3.
And so, that potential absolutely exists. I think what we saw in terms of game modes with Start 2 was that the cooperative mode eclipsed the popularity of competitive mode. And I think it is kind of similar thought process to what you described, that as much fun as competitive is, there are a number of us who feel
overwhelmed by other players,
unable to keep up with the top players, and so it's just a more enjoyable experience for some of us to go play a co-op map or a map that is a little less intimidating. And certainly with Legacy of the Void, we were surprised by what a large percentage of players participated in co-op, and definitely we put a lot of effort into the co-op for Stormgate to try to carry that forward.
Yeah, like because for me, like it would be a no-brainer. Honestly, I don't think so that I hit like 15% of all my playtime on Warcraft and StarCraft that I was in competitive. I try to do it and like learn some like build orders and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like I would rather go play, I don't know, tower defense with friends or whatever, something. Because 100%. I just like maybe never got that competitive friends anyway. I don't know. But back to the topic here, like how do you plan then to support the single player content? Because if I guess the overall roadmap as I've seen it, especially in 2025, there's a few more missions being added, or like should we imagine that by the, let's say, finish line, the campaign would be something on the same level of StarCraft 2 or Warcraft 3 in its robustness?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this kind of ongoing delivery approach to campaign. I think at the very beginning, where we're just starting out, we're kind of getting our legs under us for building campaign, and I think there's a lot of improvement coming even to the missions that we've already launched to kind of level up their production values. But over time, as we continue to add new missions, it gives us the ability to tell a story that doesn't have to stop for 2 years in between releases like it did between Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm, and then Heart of the Swarm and Legacy of the Void. We can just keep that story going with new campaign drops every quarter. And, in later years, we'll take a break in Q4 for the holidays and pick things back up in Q1. But this year, we're planning to just continue producing more and more campaign content to really lay that foundation for the story. And I think, as an early access game, all across the board, there are rough edges. It's brand new balance for multiplayer. I think co-op, the map leveling is a little uneven, and we're hearing about bugs on this map or that map, so there's stuff to fix. But campaign especially, because by necessity, that was the mode that we built most recently. It feels like there's a lot of work to do to really live up to player expectation from the production values perspective. And it's not surprising, given that Blizzard had the benefit of all of the massive resources of that cinematics team.
People need to understand that, like, you're not a multi-billion company, and they have these expectations.
People won't understand. Like they don't care. I mean, like, at the
end of the day, it's on us to make content that people like, and so when we get critical feedback, I think by definition that feedback represents how people feel, and we need to listen to it and to pay attention to it. And for sure, we can't hit the same, spectacular level that Blizzard did, but we can do better. And that's kind of part of the early access process, is just really listening and figuring out what are the things that we need to level up on. And campaign, frankly, is one of the areas that we got the strongest feedback on. And again, I'm not surprised, because it by necessity was the thing we worked on most recently. But we're very committed to that iterative process of making things better. So you'll see some improvements even to the missions that have already launched there.
I went through the campaign, like all of the missions pretty much. I think it's pretty good already. Like in a way, already got the Arthas vibes out of the story a little bit.
Yeah,
it's great.
Characters in particular are something that we're gonna be putting some work into, and more facial animation. I think those are all like fair.
Yeah, that's okay. Like, I think people still need to understand that, like, pretty much a lot of times in the campaign you're playing with the win condition, which like completely changes the new functionality, like where you have the driller in, or there's some other time-based setup, whatever. It's like all custom stuff that you see once, and then like a new custom stuff needs to be coded in, which is like a lot of work. So I guess that.
But it's like people don't understand. Like, all of them. Like, don't understand like this. Like
I know.
Of course, it is. But
it is. But to my other question, like, I know, for instance, Path of Exile, what guys do there, like, they do these 3 months leaks with like custom functionality that they do have some progression system with like cosmetic rewards or whatever, something like that. Like, do you have anything similar in mind for like later down the line as a live ops system? I mean, something that we haven't seen with StarCraft, or I don't know, similar PC free-to-play games that are, as we said, like no power progression based.
Yeah, I guess the closest thing, if I'm understanding correctly, the closest thing we had in StarCraft was the war chest events that were sort of engagement events with progression that unlocks various cosmetics. And we will do our own version of that as we get deeper into development on Stormgate. But yeah, for right now, I think the whole team is almost entirely focused on just digesting the feedback that we've gotten and making sure that we're adjusting.
Like if I understand, for those who don't read that, like Vorcha system is some kind of a battle pass that's mainly tuned towards esports tournament, where proceedings, back then in StarCraft, it would go proceedings to the tournament, and you pretty much buy a map and then you level it up and slowly get the rewards out of it in the battle pass style system. Yeah, cosmetics only.
Sort of. Yeah, it's they're basically as you accumulate XP by playing the game, you unlock cosmetics. So it wasn't necessarily restricted to one map, and you could choose to participate just for a specific race in the game, or you could choose to participate across multiple races for the unlocks. So somewhat similar, but yeah, just a particular StarCraft variation, I guess.
Yep.
Talking about tournaments, I mean, I saw there was one live tournament in South Korea. I was like, wow. First of all, wow. Second of all, like, can you share a little bit more about like was that all about? Because there was a prize pool, like 5,000, and what was like 8 people playing.
It was actually really exciting for us to see pro players play on the early access version.
Yeah.
It was hosted by Tasteless, who is one of the most beloved casters from StarCraft 2, or casting duos, because really it was Tastosis, Artosis, and Tasteless, with some help from a bunch of friends. And this was a chance for the dev team to see what pros can do, and a chance for the pros to see, where the game is at this stage. We actually did I believe this would be our first offline tournament was DreamHack Atlanta last year in December. And that also was a lot of fun. It was more a really show match style than legitimate tournament style like Tasteless's event was. And yeah, we've got some more stuff coming up on the competitive front as well. So yeah, excited to share more details as more events get closer. But I think the competitive side of RTS is just incredibly exciting to watch, even for a player like me who's not necessarily the best competitive player. I'm much more a champion co-op guy, but
welcome to our world.
But I really enjoy watching high skill play.
Yeah, I mean, I was
definitely one of the most enjoyable ones where you literally you watch people having this mastery of being able to do 160 actions per minute, and it's marvel to watch.
Mind blown immediately. It's like, I don't even know what's happening.
Yeah, I still think back to a particularly embarrassing moment where I had to demo some gameplay for a journalist, and a community tournament organizer walked up behind me and said, "Tim, you're really terrible at this game." I had to just test out. It's true. I am not the best player, but I do love playing.
Well, we can try.
Yeah, we can try.
We can try. Let's try.
Wait, can I ask a question before we get started? Actually, because I was just thinking, Tim, there's been a lot of releases. What releases of games have you kept an eye on in the last 6 to 12 months? What are some pitfalls that you've seen on some recent game launches, and what are some pieces of brilliance that you kind of like that you've seen?
Yeah, great question. I think we've all seen some of the spectacular successes of Power World or Helldivers 2, Manor Lords. These are all such great success stories. Enshrouded, Darker. There's just so much good stuff going on. There are also teams who we're friends with just from being in the industry and sort of all being part of the same ecosystem, who have had experiences that weren't breakout successes like that. And I would look at Palia with Singularity 6, Spellcraft with One More Game. We're watching PAX Day from Mainframe, and I think all of these guys are really great developers and very sincerely poured themselves into building their games. There's so many opportunities to not get it exactly right, and such a wide variety of outcomes that happens. And so I think all any of us can do is try our best and to try to learn both from other people's experiences and from our own, and to then just iterate and improve over and over again until we get it right. And making games, I think it's so much harder than a lot of people outside the industry realize. There are so much complexity to what we do. And no matter how many games I've worked on, every game is hard. It's just the nature of the business.
Yeah, especially making successful games. Big difference there.
Okay. Well, in that case, how would you measure success of?
Yeah, I would say I felt like we didn't make players as happy as we wanted to with our initial release, and we fully expect being early access, being more budget constrained than we were at Blizzard, that there was going to be stuff that people would have critical feedback about. I look at even Baldur's Gate 3, which was, probably won every Game of the Year award that it's possible to win. I looked back just recently at some of the reviews from their early access launch, and though I think
2 years in early access,
spiritual support for them, the actual review scores were not stunning. And that's, it's kind of the
Very nice way how to put it.
Yeah. But clearly those guys are a great team. They took that feedback, they stuck to their vision, they iterated, and they released something that's probably going to go down as one of the best games of all time. And so I find that really inspiring. I think the whole team at Frost Giant looks to that as an example of, early access is not the final vision. I'm very optimistic about where we can get Stormgate to.
Yeah, that's the welcome to the free-to-play club where it's never too late to iterate. This is not a premium game. Fun starts after lunch, not before.
But no, this is look, I am, but
That's okay.
All right, I'll ask the question.
Let's talk about the actual game. What's there, because I think there's a lot of I would say nuances that are there that I think people out of the RTS genre are not really familiar, but I think it's really upgraded to the thing that I've seen. If I compare my Warcraft with StarCraft experience.
I read all the reviews about the art style and everything. I mean, I think it's absolutely amazing. Honestly, the game looks perfect. For me, this is.
No, thank you. I think everybody has their own visual sensibility, and so I respect the people who are coming from more of a gritty sci-fi sensibility. I love those kinds of games too. Stormgate really does blend sensibilities from both Warcraft and StarCraft, so you should definitely see some influence from the Warcraft.
Big padrons.
Yeah, and even Diablo universe to a certain extent. But it's also really aspiring to appeal to a broad audience that includes people who are coming from games outside of RTS. And so, you could say there's some Overwatch influences, some League influences, even Fortnite influences. I think all of those things are kind of stirred together, certainly coming heavily from a StarCraft, Warcraft background as a team. So those are probably the most prominent. But yeah, that didn't necessarily align with what everybody wanted to see, but we have to accept that no matter what choices we make, we're not going to make everybody happy. We just hope that...
of course, you need to stick to your vision in the first place. That's the thing. And that's the normal way of game development.
There's always be someone who's bitching about everything.
Well, we love them all, so it still hurts when we, but anyway, hopefully they'll stick with us and give us a chance to keep making the game better.
Yeah. Well, look, we talked about Total Battle, which is a 4X game, which was alive for 7 years, and it started scaling and getting serious revenues after
500,000 a day, basically.
Yeah, 500,000 a day, basically. So it's possible. It's not quite normal, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah, but to be honest, there's a mobile game, a very specific one, which uses very specific funnel and marketing model. But I still think your journey could be compared to something, or let's say I would think so, Path of Exile, where also they can start smallish and very smallish, and I remember I was playing that game from the beta for the last 15 years, so I remember that there was also this kind of a feeling that it's never as good as Diablo, blah blah blah, production values. But in the end, they kind of overtook, I think, even the original with the mechanics, because they innovated a lot into mechanics, player kind of a genre requirements. They moved the genre a lot. Now they're doing the second one, which I think is gonna really kick ass if it kind of releases later down the line. And even though there's still not that kind of high production budget, core players only care about the core in the end. Nobody's gonna care about mounts not moving in cinematics in the end. So I think you know what to do much better than us.
No worries. I think every game is a learning experience. So yeah, we're trying to take as much inspiration as we can from all the feedback that we're getting. So all right, I have no particular favorite in terms of heroes, but I probably am going to go Vanguard for this. And have any of you guys tried Celestial, the new race?
I tried Infernal guys, but I can go Celestial, whatever.
Feel no pressure for do what feels good to you. But yeah, I think Celestial is probably feels the least familiar to players coming in from other games, just because its mechanics are a bit unique.
Can I even? Oh, yeah, this is a good question. So, how do I even select Celestials if I don't have like the heroes?
Sorry, how do you select
A Celestial guys?
there you go. Orlana is the
Oh,
There you go.
Okay.
Yes. Let's see. I'm just gonna stick this. Fine. I'm already.
Do I get it right a little bit that Celestial are more like akin to Protoss, and the Infernals are a little bit more akin to Zerg?
Oops, I clicked ready, but you guys. So Celestials are kind of a unique race. The fact that their structures are mobile, not just in the StarCraft Terran way, but in the, they are generally ships that are hovering over the map, means that you don't necessarily have a fixed base location. And so anyhow, yeah, just the dynamics of the race, it's a pretty new experience. So if you haven't tried them before, there's a little bit of a learning curve there.
Yeah, let's see. I'm okay. Like I already tried Infernals, and like it was super interesting that like it's literally summoning. There's no like build unit cooldowns. It's literally if there's charged, you can build them right now. That's it.
Yeah. We were playing yesterday, and there was the third guy.
But yeah, we can go. Who starts the game, or does we all select ready, or how?
Just all select ready, and it should be good. I'm ready. Team is ready as well. Perfect. In the meantime, so the thing is, the Kickstarter and Indiegogo stuff, which was really surprising, to be honest, like for a lot of people. So what was the kind of idea behind it? Because it felt like something you have planned, and then it kind of exploded because the goal of 100,000 was reached in like 15 minutes.
Yeah, that was definitely. Here, I'm going to try to multitask and talk as I play. But now I have an excuse if I do terribly.
Same here.
So I think the thing that led us to Kickstarter in the first place is that as an early access game, typically doing pre-sales on Steam isn't available to us. And even beyond that, we really wanted to get physical collector's editions out there and come up with a pathway for getting more people into the beta. And so between all three of those considerations, it really just made sense for us to look to Kickstarter, because that is a channel that Steam supports and even seems to encourage. So we put a lot of work into trying to structure it in a way that we hoped would feel good to players. And we also then came up with a partnership to help us create these physical collector's editions that include a Vulcan statue.
Yeah, okay. Because I was looking at the numbers, and you got like 2 million plus for that campaign from the players. That's amazing. Yeah,
we were so grateful for the outpouring of support that came from players, and I think we only switched to Indiegogo at the end because we kept getting requests to participate past the point that Kickstarter was. Get my guys over here to help because my ally is under attack. past the point where the Kickstarter was able to stay open.
Yeah, because I saw it's like like later pledge or something like after the Kickstarter was done. Yeah, because I was traveling and then I was like, oh my god, this Kickstarter campaign looks great, and then I came back like, oh, it's too late already, and then I was also late for the Indigo campaign. So it was just like terrible.
But you're currently raising money from crowdfunding again, right?
Yeah, so the crowd equity round on Start Engine had a different goal, which was to enable us to support independent development and publishing specifically. So, I think a lot of... Sorry. Out here before I can.
Okay.
It's okay. Like now we actually, because we were making fun of Jakub all the time, like he suck, but it's not actually that.
When he plays and explains the game at the same time. Welcome to my club.
It's kind of our signature move. Like,
yeah. I know. But now we are tasting our own medicine.
Totally. Yeah, this is where I'm bad at. So yeah, I think a lot of studios here. I'm going to just talk for a second while I build resources. A lot of developers wind up doing publishing deals, and publishing deals mean that another company gets to tell you creatively what to do, and another company gets to tell you how to run the business. And with a good partner, it can work out okay, but it really, I think Larian went on record recently of saying how important being independent was to them being able to realize their vision. That if somebody else were publishing or somebody else were investing and had control of their company, that would really have changed the equation. And so, yeah, for Frost Giant, for Stormgate, we want to stay independent. We want to make sure that we have the ability to build the best game that we can build, independent from trying to optimize for profit, independent from somebody else's creative vision. And so, yeah, the Start Engine campaign really was about us being able to maintain that independence. And again, just super grateful to the folks who have supported us there.
Maybe if you can explain a little bit more because just like people that are listening, because I'm mostly mobile based, and in mobile, if you have a publisher, it mostly means that those are the guys that are responsible for running your user acquisition marketing campaigns. That's the understanding here. But regarding PC, do I get it right that they have like direct say in your business model? Like, do you go DLC, premium, or like free to play, or like the deals are, I guess, much more integrated to the game product rather than the marketing itself only?
Yeah, on PC, the publisher really, since they're the one bringing the game to market by definition, as publisher, they get say over all of that. And that's not the same for a regional publisher. We do have partners like Kakao Games in Korea who are taking what we've built and helping us bring it to market specifically in that region. But a global publishing deal, generally, the publisher gets to dictate creatively and from a business model perspective how everything is going to work. And it's not that they don't listen to developers, they do, but oftentimes they will make decisions independent of what a developer wants to do.
Because sometimes like the let's say the interests of the publisher and the developer sometimes goes the other way around, if I get that right.
Yeah. And I think even well-intentioned groups still just don't have the same vision that we're necessarily going to have. So and for what it's worth, I did work at another startup that was primarily publisher funded, doing, just trying to get up to the front line to help here.
Don't worry, Rima's in the back.
Traditional sort of advance against royalty style development. And, good games still get made that way, but it's just a very different kind of process. And I think for Stormgate to really be built right, independence is important to us.
And that's kind of the thinking then behind the recent campaign on Star Engine then, or was there any other thinking behind it?
That's 100% it. Yeah, I think
Okay.
we had raised what we needed to raise for development, but really for publishing, that's a whole different set of considerations. So.
Like what's the plan then? Like marketing, marketing then.
Marketing afterwards.
Think about it.
Yeah, well, thanks to the Start Engine campaign, we've been able to build some relationships with groups like Petrol, who are an outside advertising agency. So they're helping us with the promotion for Stormgate. And we're able to do some tournament events and work with Twitch to help promote the game. So publishing on PC, it's a little less, as you guys know, less about just direct paid acquisition the way mobile is so focused on paid UA. But awareness marketing and brand marketing.
I can tell you I'm working with like a few Steam games now, and we're working on, let's say, on campaigns for like wish listing, and it does work. It's just a matter of the campaign kind of structure is the same as mobile, but with the different objectives. So instead of like downloading the game, the main objective of the campaign is actually like adding to wish list. Or I worked before with some other games on Steam, and we were just promoting the game when there was a sale, and I mean it worked well to a certain extent. It's not as easy to track everything as is on mobile, but yeah, it's all fun.
By the way, if we are at this topic, do you have any like retention benchmarks or something regarding our favorite KPI numbers that you are targeting or like expecting or just following around?
Yeah, we did build retention dashboards, but I think too soon to extract much data currently because we've had sort of less than a week and with a very small pre-purchase segment versus the whole marketplace. So yeah, super interested to see how that evolves as we get more data.
Yeah, because in like mobile free to play, it's literally like half of the, it's literally called like data driven design, where you have the KPIs dictates what needs to be done now, and it's literally like a broken car where the dashboards tell you, okay, this is not working well, build this feature. This is not working currently well, build that other feature because that directly impacts, I don't know, day 1, day 7 retention, monetization, day 20, blah, 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 stuff like that. So do you have something similar in mind, or it's just more of a like just getting into it?
We do care about retention, but at this stage, I think the biggest thing that we want to make sure we get right is player satisfaction. And I think from the point that we he's killing some people. So the hell on his face is in trouble.
Yeah, I'm just going.
Yeah, I'm playing my back door.
We'll get to a point that we're more optimization oriented in terms of looking at data and figuring out what's optimized. But right now, it's really community feedback that is the focus of the team. And I look forward to getting to that stage where it's just sort of optimization instead of pegging the.
So the metric that you would be following now would be pretty much like Steam reviews or wish lists or stuff like that?
Yeah,
again,
so we look at Steam reviews, we look at Reddit feedback, and also Steam forums. Discord is probably the single most active feedback point for our community right now. So all of those provide inputs to the decisions that we make.
So then, like with the feedback, like what kind of feedback are you? Looking for? Because it's just
looking for.
I guess you can't just act on like all
Yeah,
of
I
those
think
comments and reviews.
right. Yeah, no, we have a community team that has to help because we do get such a large volume of feedback. But what kind of feedback? I guess the single biggest thing I would say there is constructive feedback. I think it's valuable to know what people don't like, but in constructive feedback where it is coming from a place that also gives us suggestions on how to improve rather than just I think the game is bad. Like that doesn't actually give us anything to work on. But yeah, thankfully, we've gotten quite a bit of constructive feedback so far, and yeah, I'm sure it'll keep accumulating as we go free to play.
Yeah, you bet. It's gonna accumulate as you go to free to play.
Yeah, that's the power of free to play. I think that people, if they don't purchase something and then they comment on something that is free to play in like its nature, it's just different kind of relationship, I think.
Remia, can you comment what you're doing a little bit?
Yeah, I'm trying to follow Matej and destroy the gate here, which is like one of the co-op objectives, but I'm failing horribly with my macro, which means my base is underdeveloped.
Because you got attacked.
Yeah,
because I not really because I just can do two things
yeah,
at
that's
once.
just simple as that. But yeah,
That's
destroyed. That's as well. Yeah, but at least I figured out yesterday that it will be respawn, which is good. Like I'm missing some like bindings of the keyboard, so like I would have been like I don't know on keyboard 2, all of these.
Yeah, that was one of the things that we're working on is a more flexible hotkey customization system, so that you're mirroring one of our top requests there. Oops.
Yeah, I guess for these kind of competitive players, it's like must have features basically where you can customize stuff.
Ooh. Oh, I mean, I just want to control a few, at least have some kind of control of these, because that's what I want, even though I'm
Yeah, the good thing about Celestial buildings is that they can even attack, it seems. That's great.
That's as well as we should.
Until they last.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whoa. I'm getting.
Yeah, I know, because as I said.
Okay, let's go. Ooh, your ass is getting kicked, Jakub. This is way harder than the game yesterday, to be honest.
Yeah.
So
I think yesterday we went beginning, today we are normal.
This is on normal mode. It's probably the difference. So
yesterday was just easy peasy. This is a little bit different.
I think any RTS player would kind of be laughing at what's currently happening at the screen. Like season 1, I mean.
Oh no.
Yeah. Obvious. Yes. Ooh.
sadness.
Yeah, no worries.
All right.
You failed.
Well, let's go back. Maybe wrap it up. Yeah.
Oof. Yeah. Yeah. Don't worry. It's great. It's not the last game we play. That's for sure. I'll keep this because honestly, I'm
maybe
games I can
one of the last questions looking to the future. If you can maybe talk a little bit about the roadmap,
So I don't
Thing
really
here.
have anything to play on my PC.
I have it
But
here
now I have.
because it's even advertising the game basically.
But I
Yeah,
think,
here it is.
what else?
So there's a lot of content coming even this year, if I understand correctly.
Yep, that's very true. So the whole team doesn't slow down from early access launch. We have quite a bit planned,
Yeah, please do.
including another co-op map and some more heroes. I think definitely campaign missions are a heavy lift for us because there is so much scripting and story around those. So there's just a tremendous amount of effort going into new campaign missions and also into continuing to improve the missions that we've already launched. We will have sort of a seasonal events towards the end of the year with some unlockable content. So we're calling that a mini war chest for the cooperative mode, adding mutators, which just add extra challenge. Not that we need it, because clearly we've got to be able to beat it on normal first. And yeah, Map Editor Showcase is sort of a preview of where we're headed longer term with the Map Editor, but we are working really hard to get that into shape to share with people. We got requests, not surprisingly, to be able to save your progress in campaign. We do have a checkpoint system.
Yeah, maybe.
But
That would be one of those requests.
Maybe.
Yeah, pause is coming quickly. Yeah, that was one of those known things that we wanted to get in, but just didn't make the cut. And then we're going to be adding some more tier 3 units as well. Every race does currently have at least one tier 3, but more to come. And next year there's so much. 3v3 as a new game mode, competitive with heroes, with a unique win condition, so not just destroy the enemy base. So we've got the debut of the map editor like into player hands next year, a whole bunch of new campaign missions and support for 3 players in the campaign. The integrated tournament system, if people want to spin up their own tournaments, that I'm really excited about being able to provide that in an integrated way. And full-on war chests, and then the learning tool system. Last but not least, that we're working on with untapped.gg. These guys created some wonderful learning tools for Hearthstone and Marvel Snap and Magic the Gathering. So we're working with them to provide some learning tools that will have an integrated client components in Stormgate. So just so much exciting stuff that's coming.
I have a very unpopular question. I mean, this looks like a lot of work, a lot of resources as well. And I mean, you raise some money, obviously, but you're not gonna go anywhere, right? You have enough money to actually release all of these, because it looks like, I mean, obviously, like the whole gaming market is not very easy, and
yeah, we're very fortunate to have had great backing from investors, and as you guys mentioned, some great support from the community through Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and Start Engine. At the end of the day, like any company, we have to be producing things that players enjoy and that players continue to purchase. So, the mission for us as a company is to execute against that and to build fun content and to build things that players enjoy and continue to purchase. And so as long as we succeed at that, I hope that we get to work on this game for decades, as the Blizzard games have all lived and continued to be popular for decades. That's very much our goal.
I mean, yeah, I think so.
I can
Perfect
definitely-
end, I think. Yeah, yeah, that was perfect.
Like just wanted to add, like I really think that like if I don't think so there's any ever experience on the market currently that really gives this kind of like the custom BattleNet thing that was happening back then. And if you can really ride this train with like fully upgraded new platform of it, like there's definitely a big potential because a lot of big games are basically platforms like Roblox and so on, which are in the end driven by UGC content.
Also,
in the end,
all of us grew up on the StarCraft, like are now kind of a little bit older, but still playing games. And it's very big audience, I would say, even though it's a little bit core than the rest, but still alive and kicking.
Yeah. The audience is the thing that motivates us more than anything. As much as this audience is a hardcore audience, they are a wonderful audience and an audience that we feel close to after all of these years working on Blizzard RTS. So, our goal is to make people happy, and we're very committed to trying to do that.
Amazing. Tim, thank you very much for coming on the podcast and for playing with us as well. It's a great honor. And
sorry I wasn't able to carry it. I wish I were a better player.
I don't know. We failed miserably as we expected. No worries. No. Yeah, as I said, that's completely okay. Anyway, like wishing all the best with the global release next month, and yeah, we can't wait to see like all these things that we saw in the roadmap getting there.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys
Thanks for coming.
having me on. Yeah,
And
really enjoyed.
Go play the game. It's great. Yep.
All right, guys, thank you very much for listening and watching. And then please, if you have any comments, feedback, share in the comment section on YouTube, and please subscribe and play the game. Yes, play the game. Thank you. Cheers. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Mhm.